Do you constantly feel like people talk over you? Like they don't take you seriously, no matter how kind or honest you are? Like you're overlooked in conversations, ignored in decision-making, or just invisible? It's painful, not just because it bruises your ego, but because it starts to make you question your own worth. And that kind of silence, it screams. If you've ever asked yourself, why don't people respect me the way I respect them? You're not alone. And no, you're not weak for wanting respect. You're human. Respect isn't about being feared. It's about being seen, heard, valued. But here's the truth no one really tells you. You can't demand real respect, not the kind that lasts. Because respect doesn't come from volume, or status, or dominance. It comes from alignment. Respect is the quiet result of how you live when no one's watching. It's the echo of how you show up again and again. And if people keep overlooking you, stepping on your boundaries, or treating you like an afterthought, the answer isn't to fight louder. It's to stand stronger. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to become more of who you really are. The self that holds boundaries without guilt. The self that doesn't chase validation. The self that commands attention, not because it yells, but because it radiates clarity. That's what the ancient Stoics mastered. They understood that power isn't about control. It's about self-command. That respect isn't a right, it's a reflection. And that when your internal world is steady, the external world begins to mirror it. So today, we're not talking about quick tips or psychological tricks. We're talking about timeless inner shifts that change everything. We're going to explore the subtle, powerful ways you earn genuine respect without ever needing to shout for it. Because when you become unshakable, you become unforgettable. And it all begins with one question. Do you respect you? That's not a rhetorical question. It's the foundation of everything else. Because if you don't treat yourself with dignity, how will anyone else? Most people want to be respected, but they betray themselves every day. They say yes when they want to say no. They laugh at jokes that feel wrong. They hide their opinions, their pain, their power, just to stay liked. But you weren't born to shrink. And respect doesn't grow in silence. It grows when you stop editing yourself to please everyone. It grows when you honor your truth, even when it's inconvenient. Start with the small things. Speak up when something bothers you. Keep your word to yourself. Hold your head up not because you're arrogant, but because you finally remember who you are. This isn't ego. This is alignment. And alignment feels like peace. You'll know you're there when you stop second-guessing your every word, when your presence feels grounded, when people start leaning in, not because you're loud, but because your energy feels anchored. And here's the thing, the world can feel that. We all can. We know when someone's coming from truth and when they're performing. We respect those who stand alone with grace, not the ones who need approval to feel worthy. But once you build that internal foundation, the next step is to show it in your life, because integrity without action, that's just theory. If your room is in chaos, if your mind is scattered, if your energy is all over the place, people will feel that too. Not in what you say, but in what you broadcast. Respect is drawn to order, not perfection, just intentional living. So start by creating structure, not rigidity, not control. Just clarity. Know your priorities. Respect your time. Protect your space. When you stop leaking energy in 1,000 directions, people begin to recognize your boundaries. Because now, your no holds weight. Your silence speaks volumes. And your time feels sacred because you've made it sacred. People mirror what you reflect. And if you reflect self-respect, self-discipline, and self-trust, you teach them how to treat you without ever saying a word. And yet, even with all that, the world will test you. You'll still be disrespected sometimes. And in those moments, what matters most is how you respond. You could explode. You could retreat. But there's another way. The Stoic way. It's called composure. Composure is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's control over the most powerful force. You own your reaction. When you can respond to disrespect without disrespecting yourself, that's power. Not the kind that crushes others, but the kind that makes people rethink how they treat you. Have you ever seen someone so calm, so centered, that their presence disarmed everyone around them? That's composure. It's not learned overnight, but the more you practice it, the more unshakable you become. Let them gossip. Let them underestimate you. Let them try to provoke. You stay rooted. You speak only when your words carry purpose, not ego. And when you do speak, speak truth, not to wound, but to awaken. Call people into accountability with calm, not chaos. Let your dignity be the thing they remember, not your outburst. Because when they see that you can hold your ground without losing your soul, they'll respect you, even if they don't like you. And sometimes, that's the goal. They'll talk about you. That's inevitable. People misunderstand what they can't control, and they fear what they can't shake. So if you're standing tall in your truth, expect resistance. But don't let their noise pull you out of your peace. You don't need to explain your every move. You don't need to convince people of your goodness. You don't need to win every argument to prove your worth. That's how you lose yourself. The more energy you give to their perception, the further you drift from your purpose. And your purpose is not to be liked. It's to be aligned. So when the voices come, doubts, judgments, criticism, step back. Ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Is this helping me grow? Or is this just another test to see if I'll abandon myself for approval? The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus taught, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. That's the real power. Not trying to control the world, but choosing what enters your inner world. You don't need everyone to understand you. You just need to understand yourself so deeply that their confusion doesn't shake your center. That's where respect grows, right at the edge of your reactions. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop needing respect from others, you start getting it. Because nothing is more magnetic than someone who doesn't chase validation. Someone who walks in rooms with quiet confidence, not because they think they're better, but because they've mastered themselves. They'll notice how you carry yourself, how you don't interrupt, but you don't disappear either, how you listen more than you speak, but when you speak, it cuts through noise like a sword through silence. That's the kind of energy people remember. It lingers. It teaches without preaching. It leads without demanding. And now, let us talk about one of the most underestimated ways to earn respect. How you handle criticism. Most people shut down, or get defensive, or pretend not to care when deep down, it eats them alive. But what if criticism wasn't something to fear? What if it was a mirror? A brutal, honest mirror. One that doesn't always reflect the truth, but always shows you something useful. A crack in your armor, an old wound, a blind spot. The Stoics didn't run from it. They examined it. They filtered it. And they used it not to feed their ego, but to grow. So next time someone criticizes you, pause, breathe. Ask, is there a lesson here? Not a punishment, a lesson. Maybe their tone was wrong. Maybe they spoke from pain. Maybe it hurt. But hidden inside every uncomfortable truth is an opportunity to sharpen who you are. And here's the secret. When you respond to criticism with grace, you instantly elevate yourself, because grace is rare. And grace under fire? That's unforgettable. Even your enemies will respect you, not because they like you, but because they can't break you. You didn't flinch. You didn't crumble. You stood there, took the hit, and turned it into wisdom. That's how legends are made. Now let's shift to something just as powerful but harder to live. Speaking to the best in others. Most of us meet people at the level they give us. If they're rude, we snap back. If they're cold, we shut down. If they're disrespectful, we match the energy. But that's not leadership. That's reaction. The Stoics believed that every person, no matter how broken, has a higher self buried beneath the noise. And the rare ones, they speak to that part. They don't belittle. They don't shame. They challenge without crushing. It's saying, I see more in you than this, instead of, you're nothing but a problem. It's choosing elevation over ego, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to remain in alignment. And when you do this consistently, something wild happens. People shift. Not always, not instantly, but often. Because your energy becomes a mirror of what they could be, not what they are in their worst moments. And even if they don't change, others will notice. They'll see that you move with a rare kind of integrity, one that doesn't require applause, because it's too busy building character. Let's not pretend this is easy. There are days you'll want to lash out. There are moments you'll want to remind people exactly who you are. But the strongest thing you can ever do is walk away from chaos without dragging it into your soul. You don't need to win the fight. You need to win your peace. Because when you guard your peace, you protect your power. And power doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like silence, stillness, a calm presence that says, I don't need to prove myself, I live my truth. That's what the Stoics practiced daily, not for followers, not for fame, but for freedom. And when your actions align with your inner values, people take notice. They might not say it. They might no compliment you, but they feel it. They respect the one who says less and does more. The one whose actions echo louder than their voice. The one who leads not with words, but with presence. You want to be respected? Live in such a way that if someone spoke against you, no one would believe it. Not because you're perfect, but because your consistency has become your reputation. That's power. That's truth. And that's how you walk through the world without chasing anything. Because you've already become everything you are looking for. And still, even after all of that, you will be misunderstood. You'll be judged for being too quiet, or too intense, too focused, too different. They might call you cold because you don't overshare. Difficult because you won't bend backwards anymore. Arrogant because you stopped chasing approval. Let them speak. You're not here to explain your transformation to those who benefited from your silence. There will always be people who preferred the old version of you, the one who tolerated too much, stayed too long, gave too freely. But you're not that person anymore. You've been tested, burned, resurrected, and now your silence isn't emptiness, it's depth. Your stillness isn't weakness, it's power. Your distance isn't rejection, it's protection. Respect grows in that space. Because the more you protect your peace, the louder your presence becomes. Not through noise, but through weight. The weight of self-awareness, of restraint, of purpose. And it changes how people interact with you. They pause before speaking. They choose their words with care. They sense that with you, there are lines that cannot be crossed. Not because you threaten, but because you carry yourself like someone who doesn't entertain chaos. That's what makes people take notice. Not how loud you shout, but how little nonsense you tolerate. Not how much you demand, but how little you chase. Not how many follow you, but how few can shake you. This kind of energy doesn't show up overnight. It's forged in silence, in discipline, in every quiet decision to rise above the drama and stay rooted in truth. And the people who matter most, they'll feel it. They'll be drawn to it. Not because you're trying to impress, but because you've become undeniable. You are the storm and the shelter, the flame and the calm, unshakable, unfolding. So let's bring it all together. You want respect? Then start by respecting yourself in private. The way you talk to yourself, the way you handle your mornings, the way you sit with your emotions, that's where it begins. Then move into your space. Organize your environment like it matters, because it does. Your outer world reflects your inner clarity. When your surroundings are intentional, your presence becomes magnetic. Next, choose discipline over impulse. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Let your boundaries speak. Let your actions lead. Practice restraint. Learn the art of calm conflict. Speak truth with intention, not with venom. Walk away when peace costs too much. Protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Embrace criticism as a sharpening stone. Let it carve away what's weak, but don't let it rewrite your worth. Use it. Grow from it, then move forward clean, clear, and convicted. And finally, live in alignment. Say what you mean, do what you promise, and be the same person in every room, whether you're watched or not. Because when your life becomes the message, you don't need to prove anything. You just walk into the world, and it listens. You'll lose some people. Let them go. You'll face pushback. Stand tall. You'll be tested. Hold steady. And in time, you'll realize something beautiful. You were never meant to be accepted by everyone. You were meant to be respected by the few who could recognize your truth. So rise, slowly, deliberately, without apology. You don't need their validation. You need your alignment. And once you have that, you become untouchable. This is FitSoul Studio, where we grow in truth, in courage, and in purpose. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this message spoke to your soul, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your presence here matters. And I'll see you in the next one.